Ma'am, we don't serve your kind here. Perhaps try the McDonald's down the street. The words hung in the air like poison. Brittany, the blonde hostess, smiled as she deliberately tore Maya's reservation printout in half. The paper fluttered to the marble floor at Maya's feet. Around them, the upscale restaurant fell silent. Silverware stopped clinking. Conversations died mid-sentence. Phone cameras emerged from designer handbags, recording every second of the humiliation. Maya stood perfectly still in her tailored navy blazer. Her expression remained calm, almost serene. Only her manicured fingers, tapping once against her Hermes bag, betrayed any emotion. The hostess stepped closer, voice dripping with false concern. "I'm sure you understand. This establishment has certain standards." Maya's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Standards," she repeated softly. "Have you ever been judged by your appearance before anyone knew your true power?" 20 minutes earlier, Maya had confirmed her 8 p.m. reservation through OpenTable. The confirmation email sat in her iPhone. Timestamp clear, 7:42 p.m. She showed the screen to Brittany. "System must have glitched," Brittany said without looking. "We're fully booked through New Year's." Maya glanced past the hostess station. 6 empty tables dotted the dining room, white tablecloths pristine and waiting. The restaurant held maybe 30 people in a space designed for 80. "I see several available tables," Maya said quietly. Brittany's arms crossed over her chest, blocking the entrance. "Those are reserved for our regular clientele, people who fit our atmosphere." The words carried weight beyond their surface meaning. Maya had heard this language before, in boardrooms and country clubs, the careful dance of discrimination dressed in business speak. Derek, the assistant manager, approached with practiced concern. His eyes scanned Maya from head to toe, lingering on her skin color before settling on her face. The assessment took 3 seconds. The judgment, less than 1. "Is there an issue here?" Derek's smile never reached his eyes. "No issue," Maya replied, "simply honoring a confirmed reservation." At table 12, Zara Martinez looked up from her food blog notes. The 28-year-old influencer had built her following on authentic restaurant reviews. Her phone was already recording when she hit the Instagram Live button. "Hey everyone, Zara here at Meridian Prime," she whispered to her camera. "Something's happening at the hostess station. This is not okay." The viewer count climbed, 47, 89, 156 people watching in real time. Derek positioned himself beside Brittany, creating a human wall. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to respect our establishment's standards." Standards. Maya's voice held no emotion. She checked her Cartier Santos watch, 8:02 p.m. Interesting word choice. Her phone buzzed against the hostess stand. The caller ID read Goldman Sachs Private Wealth. Maya declined the call without looking. "Look, honey," Brittany's voice dropped to a stage whisper meant to carry. "This isn't a place for food stamps. Maybe try somewhere more budget-friendly." The comment hit like a slap. Conversations at nearby tables stopped entirely. Phones appeared in more hands, cameras rolling. Maya remained statue still. Her fingers found the edge of her handbag, where a black card peeked from the leather fold. Not just any black card. The distinctive design of an American Express Centurion. The card that required a $10,000 annual fee and no preset spending limit. "I have exactly 10 minutes before my business partner arrives," Maya said, checking her watch again. "Would you prefer to resolve this professionally?" Derek stepped closer, invading her personal space. "Ma'am, you need to understand something. We have a reputation to maintain. Our guests expect a certain environment." The coded language wasn't subtle. Maya had faced this before, but never quite so blatantly. These real-life stories of discrimination played out daily across America, hidden behind polite words and business policies. Zara's live stream hit 400 viewers. Comments flooded the screen. This is disgusting! Someone call the manager. What restaurant is this? Film everything! Call security, Derek murmured to Brittany, loud enough for Maya to hear. If she doesn't leave voluntarily... Maya's expression didn't change. If anything, her smile grew slightly. Security, of course. A busboy named Carlos paused near their group, pretending to wipe down the hostess station. His uncomfortable glances between Maya and the managers spoke volumes. He'd seen this script before. 9 minutes, Maya said softly, checking her watch again. Brittany leaned against the hostess stand, confident in her position. Honestly, I don't know why people like you even try places like this. There's a perfectly good Applebee's in the mall. The comment sparked immediate reaction from nearby diners. An elderly white couple at table 6 looked mortified. A young businessman pulled out his phone to record. Even the sommelier stopped mid-pour to stare. Maya's handbag sat open on the hostess counter. Inside, visible to anyone paying attention, was a first-class Emirates boarding pass stub dated 3 days prior. Dubai to JFK, seat 2A. The ticket cost more than most people's monthly salary. Derek, she said, her voice carrying a new edge. Before you continue, you might want to ask yourself one question. What's that? Do you know who you're talking to? Derek's laugh held genuine amusement. Lady, I don't care if you're Oprah Winfrey. This is my restaurant and you're not welcome here. Maya's smile widened. She pulled out her phone and typed a quick message. Confirmed. Option 7 is authorized. Deploy immediately. The reply came within seconds. Understood. ETA 2 minutes. 8 minutes, Maya announced, returning her phone to her purse. The live stream viewer count passed 800. Hashtags began forming organically. #restaurant racism, #Meridian Prime, #discrimination. The touching stories emerging in comments revealed how common these experiences were for black diners across the country. Maya stood perfectly still, hands clasped in front of her. She studied Derek's face, memorizing every detail. This moment would matter later. I'll give you one final opportunity, Derek said. Leave now and we'll forget this happened. Stay, and I call the police for trespassing. Maya checked her watch one last time. 7 minutes remaining. Outside, through the floor-to-ceiling windows, a black Escalade pulled to the curb. The restaurant's general manager emerged from his office like a storm cloud. Richard Whitmore had run Meridian Prime for 12 years, building what he called an exclusive dining experience. His silver hair and expensive suit projected authority earned through decades in upscale hospitality. What's the commotion? Richard's voice carried across the dining room. Derek straightened, sensing backup. Sir, we have a situation. This woman is refusing to leave despite not having a valid reservation. Richard sized up Maya in seconds. His expression shifted almost imperceptibly, the practiced mask of customer service barely concealing his judgment. Ma'am, I understand there's been some confusion, Richard said, his tone suggesting anything but understanding. Unfortunately, we are fully committed this evening. Perhaps I can recommend some excellent establishments more suited to your preferences. Maya's watch read 8:04 p.m. 6 minutes. I'm sorry? Richard leaned forward. 6 minutes until my business partner arrives. We have a confirmed 8 p.m. reservation under Maya. Richard glanced at Derek, who shook his head minutely. The silent communication spoke volumes about their usual coordination. I'm afraid there's no reservation under that name, Richard lied smoothly. Our system shows we're completely booked. At table 12, Zara's live stream had exploded. Over 1,200 viewers watched the confrontation unfold. Comments streamed faster than she could read them. Which restaurant is this? Someone call Channel 7 News. This is 2025, not 1955. Get their names. The hashtag Meridian Prime Racism began trending locally within the Manhattan dining scene. Food bloggers were already sharing the stream, amplifying the reach exponentially. "Sir," Maya said, her voice carrying new steel, "I'm going to ask you once more to honor my confirmed reservation." Richard's smile grew condescending. "Ma'am, I've been in this business for 25 years. I know how to run a restaurant, and I know our clientele. This establishment caters to a very specific demographic." The words hung in the air like an admission of guilt. Several diners gasped audibly. Phone cameras multiplied across the room. "Security is on the way," Derek announced, checking his own watch. "You need to leave now." Two uniformed guards entered through the main entrance. Mike Torres, the senior guard, approached with practiced authority. His partner Carlos Santos hung back, visibly uncomfortable with the situation. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises," Mike said, his hand resting on his radio. Maya studied both guards carefully. Carlos looked young, maybe 25, with kind eyes that kept darting away from the scene. Mike seemed harder, more willing to follow orders without question. "5 minutes," Maya said simply. Richard stepped closer, frustration bleeding through his professional veneer. "This is ridiculous. Mike, please escort this woman out. She's disrupting our guests." The elderly couple at table 6 stood up abruptly. The husband threw his napkin down with disgust. "Check, please. We're leaving." Their waiter hurried over, confused. "Was there something wrong with your meal, sir?" "Yes," the man said loudly enough for half the restaurant to hear. "The management." They walked out, leaving behind a half-finished bottle of wine worth $300. Maya watched them go, her expression unreadable. She pulled out her phone and typed another message. "Acceleration approved. Full deployment in 3 minutes." The response was immediate. "Acknowledged. All assets in position." Zara's viewer count hit 1,800. The comments section had become a torrent of outrage and support. Screenshots were being shared across Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. The story was escaping the confines of one restaurant, becoming something larger. "Ma'am," Mike said, stepping closer. "I don't want to have to physically remove you, but I will if necessary." Maya looked directly at Carlos. Something in her gaze made him straighten unconsciously. "Officer Santos," she said, reading his name tag. "How long have you worked security?" Carlos blinked, surprised to be addressed directly. 6 months, ma'am." "Do you enjoy your job?" Richard interrupted sharply. "Don't engage with her, Carlos. Just do your job." But Carlos found himself answering anyway. "Most days, yes, ma'am. We mainly handle small disputes, nothing like—" He gestured helplessly at the scene. 4 minutes, Maya announced. Brittany had been watching from behind the hostess stand, growing more agitated. "This is insane! Why are we even entertaining this? Just drag her out!" Her raised voice carried across the restaurant. The business executive at table 8 was now openly recording with his phone. A food critic from New York Magazine looked up from her notes, recognizing the makings of a career-ending scandal. Richard made a decision. "Mike, Carlos, please escort this woman from the premises immediately. Use whatever force necessary." The words would later be analyzed frame by frame in the viral videos. Whatever force necessary against a calm, well-dressed woman asking to honor a reservation. Maya checked her watch, 8:07 p.m. 3 minutes. She reached into her handbag and pulled out her phone. The Goldman Sachs contact was calling again. This time she answered. "Maya speaking. Yes, the preliminary assessment is complete. Confirmed for immediate execution. Thank you." The call lasted 15 seconds. Everyone in earshot heard her end. "Proceed with the acquisition." Richard laughed dismissively. "Acquisition? Lady, what are you going to acquire? A Happy Meal?" Derek joined the laughter. Even Brittany smirked at what seemed like an elaborate bluff. Maya returned her phone to her purse and checked her watch again. 2 minutes. Outside, the black Escalade's engine continued running. Through the tinted windows, figures moved in the back seat. Official-looking documents exchanged hands. Zara's live stream broke 2,000 viewers. Local news stations were monitoring social media feeds, recognizing a developing story. The restaurant's own security cameras captured every word, every gesture, building an incontrovertible record. "Final warning," Mike said, moving toward Maya. "Come with us voluntarily or we'll arrest you for trespassing." Maya stepped backward toward the entrance, her hands visible and non-threatening. "I'll wait outside then, for exactly 90 seconds more." She moved toward the door with quiet dignity. Richard called after her, "And don't come back. This restaurant doesn't serve people like you." The words echoed across the dining room. Multiple camera phones captured his face as he said it. The hostility, the arrogance, the complete confidence in his position. Maya paused at the threshold and turned back. For the first time all evening, she smiled genuinely. "Mr. Whitmore," she said clearly, "you're absolutely right. After tonight, this restaurant will never serve people like me again." Something in her tone made Richard's triumph falter. The smile was wrong somehow. Too confident. Too knowing. Maya stepped outside into the cool evening air. Through the windows, she could see the staff gathering, celebrating their victory. Brittany was actually high-fiving Derek. She checked her watch one final time. 8:09 p.m. "Showtime," she whispered to herself. The Escalade's doors opened. A tall man in a charcoal Tom Ford suit emerged from the Escalade. James Morrison carried himself with the quiet authority of someone accustomed to high-stakes negotiations. His briefcase bore the embossed logo of Morrison & Associates, one of Manhattan's most prestigious corporate law firms. Maya met him on the sidewalk. "Right on time, James." "The paperwork is finalized," he said, handing her a leather portfolio. "Signed, sealed, and filed with the state at exactly 8:05 p.m. Inside the restaurant, Richard watched through the window with growing unease. The woman who'd just been escorted out was conducting what appeared to be a business meeting. "Who is that guy?" Derek asked, squinting at the well-dressed lawyer. "Probably her cousin or something," Brittany said dismissively. "People like her always try to make themselves look important." Maya opened the portfolio and reviewed the documents inside. Her signature appeared on the final page next to an official notary seal. The timestamp read 8:05 p.m., exactly 4 minutes ago. "Shall we proceed with the announcement?" James asked. Maya looked through the restaurant's windows. Inside, the staff had returned to their stations, confident in their victory. Richard was glad handing a table of regular customers, probably spinning the story of how he'd handled an unfortunate situation. "Let's give them another minute to enjoy their success," Maya said. James checked his watch. "The wire transfer cleared at 8:07. Legal ownership transferred simultaneously. We're operating within all regulatory requirements." At Table 12, Zara's live stream had reached 2,400 viewers. The comments section moved too fast to follow, but she caught glimpses. "What's happening outside? Who is that man? This is getting crazy." Maya and James approached the restaurant entrance. Through the glass doors, they could see the hostess station where this confrontation had begun just minutes earlier. "Ready?" James asked. "I've been ready for this moment for years," Maya replied. They entered together. The hostess station fell silent as every eye in the restaurant tracked their movement. Brittany looked confused, Derek appeared nervous, and Richard's confident expression began to waver. "Excuse me," Richard called out. "I thought I made it clear that you weren't welcome here." Maya stopped at the hostess station, exactly where she'd stood 15 minutes earlier. James positioned himself beside her, briefcase in hand. "Mr. Whitmore," Maya said calmly, "I'd like to introduce you to James Morrison, senior partner at Morrison & Associates. He's here regarding a business matter." Richard's laugh sounded forced. "Lady, I don't know what game you're playing, but this restaurant isn't for sale." "Actually," James said, opening his briefcase, "it was. As of 8:05 p.m. this evening, the sale is complete." He withdrew a tablet and activated the screen. The document displayed was unmistakably legal. Corporate letterhead, official seals, notarized signatures. "This is ridiculous," Derek said, but his voice lacked conviction. James turned the tablet toward the gathered staff. The header read, "Asset Acquisition Agreement, Meridian Prime Restaurant." Maya stepped closer to Richard. "Effective immediately, Mr. Whitmore, your employment is terminated. You have 30 minutes to collect your personal belongings and leave the premises." The words hit like a physical blow. Richard's face went white, then red with rage. "You can't fire me. I've been here 12 years. This is impossible." James consulted his tablet. According to the employment contract on file, all staff serve at the pleasure of the ownership entity. As of 8:05 p.m., that entity is Maya Hospitality Group. Maya reached into her handbag and withdrew a business card. She placed it on the hostess station where her torn reservation had fallen 20 minutes earlier. The card read, "Maya, Chief Executive Officer, Hospitality Group." Silence fell across the restaurant like a curtain. Every conversation stopped. Silverware hung suspended in midair. The only sound was the quiet hum of the air conditioning system. Brittany stared at the card, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. But you're black?" Maya finished calmly. "Yes, I'm also the owner of 47 restaurants across the tri-state area. As of tonight, 48. Derek backed away from the hostess station as if it had become toxic. "This can't be real. This is some kind of scam." James produced additional documents from his briefcase. Wire transfer confirmation for $4.7 million, completed at 8:07 p.m. New York State business registration, filed at 8:06 p.m. Corporate tax documents, submitted electronically at 8:08 p.m. The numbers were specific, official, impossible to fake in real time. Maya had acquired the restaurant while standing outside being humiliated by its staff. "Carlos," Maya said, addressing the younger security guard directly. "Effective immediately, you're promoted to head of security for this location. Your new salary is $65,000 annually, plus benefits." Carlos blinked hard, struggling to process what was happening. "Ma'am, I don't understand." "You showed respect when others showed prejudice," Maya said simply. "That matters." She turned to Mike, the senior guard. "Your conduct tonight violated basic human dignity protocols. You're suspended pending review." Mike's confidence evaporated. "You can't just walk in here and—" "Actually," James interjected, "she can. Legal ownership grants full operational authority." Zara's live stream had exploded to over 3,000 viewers. The comments were moving so fast, they created a blur of excitement and disbelief. Screenshots of Maya's business card were already circulating on Twitter. Richard found his voice, though it cracked with desperation. "This is a setup. Some kind of elaborate revenge fantasy." Maya pulled out her phone and showed him the screen. The Goldman Sachs private wealth management app displayed her account summary. The numbers were staggering. More money than most people would see in 10 lifetimes. "Mr. Whitmore, this isn't revenge. This is business." She gestured toward the dining room, where several tables sat empty despite Richard's claims of being fully booked. "Your management style has created a 23% decline in diverse clientele over the past 2 years," Maya continued. "That translates to approximately $1.1 million in lost annual revenue." James consulted his tablet. "Market analysis indicates significant profit potential through inclusive service policies." The specific numbers carried weight. These weren't emotional accusations, but data-driven business decisions. "Derek Morrison, your position as assistant manager is terminated effective immediately," Maya announced. "Brittany Foster, your employment is likewise terminated for violation of anti-discrimination policies." Brittany finally found her voice. "You can't do this to us. We were just following protocols." "Whose protocols?" Maya asked. The question hung in the air. Everyone knew the answer. The discrimination hadn't been written policy, but cultural enforcement by management. Maya addressed the remaining staff. Every other employee will receive full review within 48 hours. Those committed to inclusive service will be retained with enhanced training and compensation. A busboy near the kitchen began clapping slowly. Another server joined in. Within moments, applause spread across the restaurant from both staff and customers. Richard's face had progressed through shock to rage to something approaching panic. "This won't stand. I'll sue. I'll fight this in court." James opened another folder. "Mr. Whitmore, you're welcome to pursue legal action. However, I should mention that tonight's events were recorded by multiple witnesses, including restaurant security cameras and social media live streams." He gestured toward Zara, whose phone was still capturing everything. "Additionally, we've documented a pattern of discriminatory practices spanning several years through customer complaints and staff reports." Maya checked her watch. 8:15 p.m. Exactly 15 minutes since her business partner was supposed to arrive. "James, please explain the broader context to Mr. Whitmore." James nodded professionally. "Ms. Maya's acquisition tonight was part of a larger market correction strategy. Maya Hospitality Group has been monitoring establishments with concerning diversity metrics across the region." He paused to let that sink in. This restaurant's reputation for exclusionary practices made it a prime candidate for intervention. The word intervention carried layers of meaning. This wasn't random revenge, but systematic change. Maya turned to address the entire restaurant. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the disruption to your evening. Management will cover tonight's meals for all current guests." Spontaneous applause erupted from several tables. The elderly couple who'd walked out earlier had apparently stopped outside to watch through the windows. They were applauding too. "But there's something else you should know," Maya continued. The room fell silent again, waiting. This story, these black stories of discrimination in upscale establishments, they happen every day across America. Tonight was different only because someone had the resources to respond immediately. Her words carried quiet power, addressing the broader systemic issues without preaching. "Starting tomorrow, this restaurant will implement new policies ensuring every guest receives equal treatment regardless of race, religion, or background." James consulted his watch. "Ma'am, we should discuss the operational transition timeline." Maya nodded. "Of course. But first, I believe Mr. Whitmore has 30 minutes to collect his belongings." Richard stood frozen, still processing the complete reversal of his reality. 20 minutes ago, he'd been the authority figure ejecting an unwanted customer. Now he was unemployed, his career in upscale hospitality effectively over. "This isn't possible," he whispered. Maya's expression softened slightly. "Mr. Whitmore, discrimination isn't just morally wrong, it's bad business. Tonight, you learned both lessons simultaneously." She turned toward the dining room, where customers and staff watched with rapt attention. "Now," Maya said, her voice carrying across the restaurant, "let's talk about how we're going to make this the most welcoming establishment in Manhattan." Maya led the group toward the restaurant's private dining room, a space typically reserved for high-end corporate events. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The same establishment that had rejected her 20 minutes earlier now served as her boardroom. James activated a wall-mounted display screen and connected his tablet. Financial documents appeared in crisp detail, numbers that would reshape lives and careers. "For the record," James announced to the assembled staff, "the acquisition was completed through standard market channels. Maya Hospitality Group submitted a competitive bid of $4.7 million at 7:45 p.m. this evening." Richard's voice cracked with desperation. "That's impossible. The owners would have consulted me about any sale discussions." Maya settled into the head chair with quiet authority. "Mr. Whitmore, you seem confused about your role here. You were never an owner, merely an employee." She gestured to the screen, where ownership documents displayed clear corporate structures. "The Hendricks family has owned this property since 1987. They've been exploring divestment opportunities for 18 months due to declining profits." James pulled up financial reports spanning 3 years. The numbers painted a stark picture of gradual revenue decline. Under your management, Maya continued, this restaurant has lost $1.3 million in potential annual revenue through exclusionary practices. The data was devastating. Customer surveys showed consistent patterns. Reviewers of color frequently mentioned feeling unwelcome, resulting in negative online ratings that damaged the restaurant's broader reputation. A simple demographic analysis reveals the problem, James said, highlighting specific metrics. Manhattan's dining population is 34% Black and Latino. This restaurant's customer base is less than 8% minority. Derek shifted uncomfortably. We never turned away paying customers. Didn't you? Maya's voice carried quiet steel. Tonight alone, you rejected a confirmed reservation, suggested I try McDonald's, and threatened me with arrest. She paused, letting the words sink in. How many other potential customers received similar treatment over the past 12 years? The question hung in the air like an indictment. Staff members exchanged uncomfortable glances, remembering incidents they'd witnessed or participated in. Maya stood and approached the financial display. Let me show you what inclusive hospitality looks like. She pulled up revenue reports from 3 other Maya hospitality properties, restaurants in similar neighborhoods with comparable price points. The Meridian in Tribeca serves a 41% minority clientele, annual revenue $6.2 million. Maya's Table in Soho, 38% minority customers, annual revenue $5.8 million. Golden Dragon Uptown, 45% minority clientele, annual revenue $7.1 million. The numbers spoke for themselves. Inclusive policies weren't just morally correct, they were profitable. This establishment, Maya continued, grossed $3.9 million last year. You're leaving approximately $2 million annually on the table through discriminatory practices. Richard's face had gone ashen. The mathematical reality of his management failures was undeniable. Now, Maya said, returning to her seat, let's discuss immediate operational changes. James distributed printed documents to the remaining staff. The pages outlined comprehensive policy reforms that would transform the restaurant's culture. Effective immediately, all staff will undergo 40 hours of unconscious bias training, Maya announced. This training is mandatory for continued employment. She looked directly at Derek, who was frantically reading his termination letter. Mr. Morrison, your discriminatory conduct tonight violated federal civil rights statutes. Specifically, Title II of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination in public accommodations. Derek's hands shook as he read the legal language. I was just following standard procedures. Whose procedures? Maya asked again. Show me the written policy that instructs staff to reject Black customers. Derek couldn't answer because no such policy existed in writing. The discrimination had been cultural, enforced through unspoken understanding and management example. James consulted his legal notes. Mr. Morrison, your statements tonight were recorded by multiple witnesses, suggesting that a customer try McDonald's based on their race constitutes clear discriminatory intent. The legal framework was solid. Maya's team had documented everything carefully, building an airtight case. Here's what happens next, Maya said, addressing the entire group. Mr. Whitmore and Mr. Morrison, you have 30 minutes to collect personal belongings and leave. Security will escort you from the building. She turned to Carlos, who still seemed stunned by his promotion. Carlos, your first assignment as head of security is ensuring they leave peacefully. Carlos straightened, finding his voice. Yes, ma'am, I understand. Maya continued outlining the transition plan. All remaining staff will receive comprehensive review within 48 hours. Those demonstrating commitment to inclusive service will be retained with enhanced compensation. She pulled up salary charts on the display. The numbers were impressive. Across-the-board raises averaging 15% for staff who completed bias training successfully. Additionally, We're implementing performance metrics based on customer satisfaction across all demographic groups. James distributed tablets showing the new evaluation system. Staff would be assessed not just on service quality, but on their ability to make every customer feel welcome. Monthly mystery shopper programs will test service consistency, Maya explained. Bonuses will be tied to positive reviews from diverse customer bases. The carrot and stick approach was clear. Staff who embraced inclusive practices would prosper. Those who didn't would find themselves unemployed. Brittany, who'd been silent since her termination, finally spoke up. "This is discrimination against us. You're firing white people." Maya's expression didn't change. "Ms. Foster, you're not being terminated for your race. You're being terminated for telling a customer that the restaurant doesn't serve her kind." The distinction was crucial. Performance-based termination for discriminatory conduct was legally defensible. Racial bias was not. Furthermore, James added, the new management team will reflect the community's diversity. We're actively recruiting qualified candidates from all backgrounds. Maya stood again, addressing the broader implications. This isn't about punishment. It's about transformation. This restaurant will become a model for inclusive hospitality throughout the industry. She pulled up architectural plans on the screen, proposed renovations that would make the space more welcoming to diverse clientele. We're investing an additional $800,000 in renovations and staff development over the next 6 months. The commitment was substantial, demonstrating serious intent beyond symbolic gestures. Monthly community events will showcase cuisines and cultures from across the neighborhood, Maya continued. Local artists will display work in rotating exhibitions. The vision was comprehensive, not just ending discrimination, but actively celebrating diversity. Richard made one final desperate attempt. "You can't just waltz in here and destroy everything I've built." Maya's voice remained calm. "Mr. Whitmore, what exactly did you build? A restaurant that alienated a third of its potential customer base? An establishment with declining revenues and toxic workplace culture?" She gestured toward the financial reports still displayed on screen. "You built a business model based on exclusion. Tonight, we're replacing it with inclusion." James checked his watch. "Legal transition is complete. All employment contracts have been modified or terminated as discussed." Maya nodded. "Carlos, please escort Mr. Whitmore and Mr. Morrison to collect their belongings." As the disgraced managers left the dining room, the remaining staff seemed to exhale collectively. The oppressive atmosphere that had defined the restaurant's culture was lifting. "Questions?" Maya asked the remaining team. A server named Maria raised her hand tentatively. "Will we really get training on how to serve everyone equally?" "Not just training," Maya replied. "We're partnering with Cornell's School of Hotel Administration to develop a comprehensive hospitality equity program." The academic partnership added credibility and depth to the transformation. Additionally, staff will receive cultural competency education and language support for better customer communication. Maya pulled up employment statistics from her other properties. Employee retention rates were significantly higher at inclusive restaurants, creating more experienced professional service teams. "These changes aren't charity," she emphasized. "They're smart business. Inclusive restaurants consistently outperform exclusive ones in revenue, employee satisfaction, and customer loyalty." The data backed up every claim. This wasn't idealistic social engineering, but proven business strategy. "Anyone uncomfortable with serving all customers equally is welcome to seek employment elsewhere," Maya said diplomatically. "This transition is voluntary for existing staff, but commitment must be genuine." She looked around the room, meeting each person's eyes. "Tomorrow, we begin rebuilding this restaurant's reputation, not through marketing campaigns or publicity stunts, but through consistent, excellent service for every single customer." The transformation had begun. 6 weeks later, Maya returned to the restaurant for her first official dinner as owner. The transformation was remarkable, not just in decor, but in atmosphere. The space hummed with genuine warmth instead of manufactured exclusivity. Keisha Williams, the new hostess, greeted her with professional enthusiasm. "Good evening, Miss Maya. Your table is ready." The young black woman had been promoted from server after completing the hospitality equity program with distinction. Her presence at the front desk sent an immediate message about the restaurant's new values. Maya surveyed the dining room as she walked to her table. The clientele reflected Manhattan's true diversity: families of various backgrounds enjoying special occasions, business professionals conducting deals, couples celebrating anniversaries. Carlos approached in his new head of security uniform, confidence replacing the uncertainty she'd seen that first night. "Ms. Maya, how are the new protocols working?" she asked. "Beautifully," Carlos replied. "We've had 0 discrimination incidents since reopening. Customer satisfaction scores are up 47%. The numbers told the story better than any speech. Maya's data-driven approach was producing measurable results. At table 12, the same spot where Zara had live-streamed the original confrontation, a family was celebrating a grandmother's birthday. The elderly Latina woman was surrounded by 3 generations, their laughter carrying across the restaurant. "That's Mrs. Rodriguez," Keisha mentioned as she seated Maya. She said she'd never felt comfortable in upscale restaurants before. Now she comes twice a month with different family members. These real-life stories of transformation were multiplying throughout the community. Word-of-mouth recommendations from previously excluded customers were driving significant new business. Maya opened the redesigned menu, which now featured dishes representing the neighborhood's cultural diversity alongside traditional American cuisine. The Colombian arroz con pollo sat beside classic beef Wellington, both prepared by the expanded kitchen team. "How's the staff transition progressing?" Maya asked Maria, her server from that first night. "It's been incredible," Maria replied. "The training wasn't just about bias. We learned about different cultural dining customs, dietary restrictions, communication styles. I'm a better server for everyone now." The comprehensive education program had exceeded expectations. Staff members reported feeling more confident and professional, equipped to serve any customer who walked through the door. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from James. "Monthly review complete. Revenue up 34% from same period last year. Staff retention at 96%. The financial turnaround had been swift and substantial. Inclusive policies weren't just ethically correct, they were dramatically profitable. During dessert, Maya noticed a familiar face at the bar. Richard Whitmore sat alone, nursing a whiskey and staring at his former domain. Their eyes met across the room. Maya approached his table with measured steps. "Mr. Whitmore?" Richard looked up with a mixture of shame and resentment. "Congratulations. You got what you wanted." "This was never about what I wanted," Maya replied calmly. "It was about what the community needed." She gestured toward the diverse crowd of diners. "Look around. This is what a successful restaurant looks like." Richard followed her gaze, taking in the vibrant atmosphere he'd never cultivated. "I never meant to exclude anyone." "Intent matters less than impact," Maya said gently. "But it's not too late to learn." She placed a business card on his table, not her own, but for a hospitality consulting firm specializing in diversity training. "When you're ready to rebuild your career, call them. Tell them I recommended you for their management rehabilitation program." The gesture surprised him. After everything that had happened, she was offering a path forward rather than permanent exile. "Why would you help me?" Richard asked. "Because transformation is possible for everyone," Maya replied, "including you." She returned to her table where dessert was waiting. The chocolate soufflé had been prepared by Jean-Claude, a Haitian pastry chef hired as part of the kitchen expansion. His addition had elevated the entire dessert program while adding authentic Caribbean influences. As Maya finished her meal, she reflected on the broader impact. The restaurant's transformation had inspired similar changes throughout the hospitality industry. Other establishments were proactively implementing bias training and diversity initiatives rather than waiting for intervention. The touching stories emerging from these changes extended far beyond one restaurant. Families were discovering new venues where they felt genuinely welcome. Young professionals of color were advancing in hospitality careers previously closed to them. Maya's phone showed dozens of messages from other business owners seeking guidance on inclusive practices. The model she'd created was spreading organically across the industry. "Ms. Maya," Keisha approached with a tablet. "The 9 p.m. reservation just arrived? The Maya party of 8? Maya smiled, recognizing the family name. Her own extended family was joining her to celebrate the restaurant's official reopening and the success of the transformation. As her relatives filled the table, sharing stories and laughter in English and Mandarin, Maya felt a deep sense of completion. This space that had once rejected her now embraced not just her, but everyone who sought genuine hospitality. The revolution was quiet but profound. One restaurant, one policy, one interaction at a time. 3 months after that transformative evening, Maya's story had become something larger than one restaurant's redemption. The video of her revelation had been viewed over 8.7 million times across social platforms, inspiring countless discussions about discrimination in upscale establishments. Harvard Business School featured the Meridian Prime case study in their executive education program. The curriculum examined how strategic intervention could address systemic bias while improving business performance. Students analyzed Maya's approach as a model for corporate social responsibility with measurable results. The restaurant industry felt the ripple effects nationwide. The National Restaurant Association updated their diversity guidelines, incorporating principles pioneered at Meridian Prime. Over 200 establishments had implemented similar bias training programs, creating a movement toward genuine inclusivity. Maya received speaking invitations from business schools, civil rights organizations, and hospitality conferences. Her message remained consistent. Equality wasn't just morally imperative, it was financially smart. When businesses exclude potential customers based on prejudice, she told audiences, they're not just harming individuals, they're sabotaging their own success. The personal impact stories continued multiplying. Zara's original live stream had launched her career as a social justice advocate. She now worked with restaurants nationwide, conducting diversity audits and training programs. Carlos had enrolled in business school, planning to open his own inclusive establishment. Even Brittany, the former hostess, had enrolled in sensitivity training and was working to rebuild her career in customer service. These life stories demonstrated that change was possible for everyone willing to grow. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from her business partner, David. "Portland acquisition approved. Same transformation model?" She smiled, typing back, "Always." Maya Hospitality Group had grown to 73 properties across 12 states. Each acquisition followed the Meridian Prime playbook, identifying establishments with exclusionary practices, purchasing them, and implementing comprehensive reform. The business model proved remarkably successful. Inclusive, restaurants consistently outperformed their previous discriminatory incarnations by 20 to 40% in revenue. Employee satisfaction surveys showed dramatic improvements in workplace culture and professional development opportunities. Maya stood outside the original Meridian Prime, watching the evening crowd arrive. Young professionals, elderly couples, families with children, all backgrounds, all welcomed with genuine enthusiasm. A teenage girl approached hesitantly. "Excuse me, are you Maya?" "I am." "My mom showed me your video. She said you proved that one person can change everything." Maya smiled, remembering her own moments of doubt and determination. Not one person. Many people choosing to do better, one interaction at a time. The girl nodded seriously. "I want to open a restaurant someday. Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "How do you make sure you never become the person you once fought against?" The question revealed wisdom beyond the girl's years. Power could corrupt even those who'd experienced powerlessness. "You remember where you came from," Maya replied, "and you listen when others tell you their stories." As the girl walked away, Maya reflected on the journey. From humiliation to transformation, from individual injustice to systemic change. The real victory wasn't owning restaurants, it was creating spaces where everyone belonged. Your experiences matter. Have you witnessed discrimination in restaurants or businesses? Share your story in the comments below. These Black stories and real-life stories help expose patterns that need changing. If this resonates with your experiences, hit subscribe and the bell icon for more touching stories of people transforming injustice into positive change. Share this video with someone who needs to see that strategic action can create powerful, lasting reform. Together, we can build a more inclusive world, one business at a time. What systemic changes would you implement if you had Maya's influence? Let's discuss solutions that move beyond individual incidents to create industry-wide transformation.
Listen to me, you pathetic little nobody. You're a broke waitress scraping by on tips and pity. You think feeding some dirty street rat makes you a hero? You're nothing. Keep this up and I'll make sure you never work in this town again. You'll lose everything. Her manager's spit hit Beth's face as he screamed. His finger jabbed into her chest. Hard. The other waitresses looked away. Nobody helped. That was yesterday. Today the coffee cups shattered. The whole diner shook like an earthquake. Beth stumbled to the window. A military helicopter descended, black, massive, landing in her parking lot. The door opened. Ethan stepped out, the starving boy she'd been feeding in secret. But he wasn't running. He walked beside a man in a dark suit, calm. Then Ethan looked up at Beth and waved, like greeting an old friend. Let's rewind. 3 months before that helicopter. Beth Davis stood behind the counter at Rosie's diner, wiping down the same worn surface she'd cleaned for 14 years. 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon every single day. $5 an hour plus whatever tips customers left. Most days, $60. Good days, $80. It wasn't much. But it kept her invisible, and invisible was what Beth needed. The diner sat on the edge of town. Small place. 15 tables with cracked vinyl seats, weak coffee, decent pie on Thursdays. Regular customers who left small tips and didn't ask questions. Nobody knew who Beth used to be. 15 years ago, Beth wasn't a waitress. She was one of the best cryptographers the National Security Agency had ever seen. She could crack codes that made senior analysts quit. She saw patterns nobody else could. Numbers were her language. By 25, she had Q clearance. By 27, the CIA wanted her. The offer came on a Tuesday. A man in a gray suit, 6-figure salary.
6 months overseas doing intelligence work. Miss Davis, your country needs you. This is work that saves lives. Beth looked at the photo on her desk. Tommy, her son, 8 years old, gap-toothed smile, holding a baseball mitt too big for his hands. I have a son. We have excellent childcare programs. He'd be well taken care of. You're asking me to leave him for 6 months. No. My answer is no. The man's smile vanished. You might regret this decision, Miss Davis. I doubt it. I'm his mother. That matters more than codes. The man stood. At the door, he paused. We'll see. 3 months later, Tommy got sick. Headaches. Sharp ones that made him cry at night. Then seizures. Small at first, then violent, then the hospital, white walls, beeping machines, doctors with grim faces. The diagnosis came on a Friday, a rare neurological condition, degenerative, fatal without treatment. But medication existed, experimental, showing remarkable results in trials. Available only through classified government programs. Beth called the number. The same man answered. Miss Davis, I was wondering when I'd hear from you. My son needs that medication. The trial. I'll sign your contract. I'll do whatever you need, please. A long pause. I'm sorry. The trial is only for family of active personnel. You declined our offer. You don't qualify. He's 8 years old. He's dying. I understand this is difficult. Good luck, Miss Davis. The line went dead. Tommy died 4 weeks later. Beth held his hand until the end. In his final moments, Tommy looked up at her, pale, weak, still smiling. Mom, it's okay. You stayed with me. That's what matters. You chose me. His last words. Then he was gone. Beth buried him on a Thursday. Rain, alone. After that, Beth never went back to cryptography. She moved to this small town, got the job at Rosie's, became invisible. For 14 years, she told herself she'd made the right choice, stayed with Tommy.
Been his mother until the end, but late at night she heard that voice. You might regret this decision. She did, every single day, until 3 months ago, when the boy appeared. Thursday afternoon, 2 o'clock, closing time. Beth was wiping tables when she saw him through the window. A boy, maybe 10 years old, painfully thin, clothes hanging loose, dirty hair, pale face, almost gray. He stood on the sidewalk staring at leftover pie on the counter. His hands trembled, his eyes were hollow. But he didn't come inside, didn't knock, didn't beg, just stood there, hungry, silent. Something in Beth cracked open. She grabbed a takeout container, filled it with pie, sandwich, water, walked through the kitchen to the back door, stepped into the alley. The boy was already there, waiting, like he knew she'd come. Beth set the container on the ground. Here, it's yours. No strings. The boy stared at it, didn't move. It's okay, nobody's watching. Take it. He knelt slowly, opened the container. His hands shook as he grabbed the sandwich. He ate like he hadn't eaten in days, desperate, fast. Beth started to turn, give him privacy. Then she saw it. A scar at the base of his skull, small, surgical, precise, hidden under his hairline where most people would never notice it. Beth's breath stopped cold. She knew that scar. She'd seen it before. On Tommy. The exact same placement, the exact same size, a neurosurgical incision, the kind used in experimental procedures, the kind the CIA had shown her 15 years ago at that classified facility. The tour guide's voice echoed in her memory. Like the old MK Ultra experiments, Miss Davis, but refined, modern. We're not breaking minds anymore. We're enhancing them. Surgical implants for memory, for pattern recognition, for children with extraordinary gifts. She'd felt sick then. She felt sicker now. This boy had Tommy's scar, which meant someone had done to him what they'd wanted to do to children in that program. The boy came back 2 days later. Same time, same place. Beth brought more food. This time he spoke. Thank you. His voice was quiet, hoarse. What's your name? He hesitated. Ethan. I'm Beth. Do you live around here? Silence. His eyes looked older than 10. Then he ran. It became a pattern. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, 2 o'clock. Ethan appeared. Beth brought food. He ate, sometimes said thank you, then vanished into the alleys. Beth didn't ask questions, just fed him, because she couldn't save Tommy. But maybe she could save this boy. On week 3, Beth noticed something new, a bracelet on Ethan's wrist. Thin, metal, with numbers engraved into the surface. 13, just the number, nothing else. What's that bracelet? Beth asked carefully. Ethan's hand shot to his wrist. He yanked his sleeve down, fast. Nothing. It looks like it's nothing. I have to go. He ran before she could finish. That night, Beth couldn't sleep. The bracelet, the number, the scar. She'd seen something like it before, 15 years ago, when the CIA gave her a tour of a research facility, before she'd declined their offer. Children had been there, young kids. Orphans, the guide had explained, part of a special program, learning extraordinary skills, being trained for important work. One of those children had worn a bracelet exactly like Ethan's, number 8 engraved on it. The guide had smiled with unsettling pride. These children are assets, Miss Davis. They have extraordinary gifts, photographic memories, pattern recognition beyond normal limits. We're training them for vital work. Think MK Ultra, but ethical, controlled. We're building better minds, not destroying them. Beth had felt sick listening to it then. The next day, she watched closer, the way Ethan scanned the entire street before sitting down, the way he never stayed in one spot longer than 5 minutes, the way his eyes seemed to memorize every detail of her face. Week 4, something happened that confirmed her worst fear. Ethan pulled a napkin from the takeout container. Beth had accidentally left a pen inside. The boy picked it up, started drawing on the napkin, not pictures, symbols, mathematical symbols, complex and precise, encryption algorithms, the exact same ones Beth used to write at the National Security Agency 15 years ago. Beth's blood went cold. Where did you learn that? She whispered. Ethan looked up. His eyes met hers, calm, no fear. I didn't learn it. I just know it. I've always known it. He folded the napkin carefully, slid it across the ground toward her. Then he stood up and walked away without another word. Beth picked up the napkin with shaking hands, unfolded it slowly. stared at the symbols she hadn't seen in 14 years. And at the bottom, written in small, careful letters, "They're watching you." Beth's head snapped up. She looked toward the street. Through the narrow alley entrance, barely visible in the afternoon shadows, sat a black sedan, tinted windows, engine idling quietly. The moment Beth spotted it, the car began to move. It pulled away slowly, deliberately, making sure she saw it leave. They weren't hiding anymore. Beth looked back down at the napkin, at the number Ethan had written next to the encryption symbols, Subject 13. Ethan wasn't just some random hungry street kid. He was Subject 13, a child asset, part of that same program, the one they'd called Ethical MK Ultra, the one that put surgical implants in children's brains and gave them numbers instead of names. And somehow, after 15 years of silence, they had sent him directly to her. The question was why. The black sedan came back the next day. Beth spotted it from the diner window. Same car, same tinted windows. Parked across the street, engine running, someone inside, watching. Beth's hands shook as she poured coffee. 14 years invisible. Now they were back. Because of Ethan. Because of Subject 13. She tried to focus on work, but her eyes kept drifting to that window, to that car sitting there like a threat. Then she noticed something else. A camera. Small. Mounted on the telephone pole across the street, pointed directly at the diner's back door. It hadn't been there yesterday. Beth's stomach turned. This wasn't just a car. This was infrastructure, like the Snowden leaks. Not just phones tapped, cameras in alleys, in public spaces, watching everything, recording everything. They'd turned her small town into a surveillance grid. And she was the target. At 2 o'clock closing time, Beth locked the front door, walked to the back with food for Ethan. Chicken soup, fresh bread, an apple. Ethan was waiting in the alley. But he looked different, more tense. His eyes darted to the camera on the pole. He knew. "They found you," Beth said quietly. Ethan nodded. He took the food but didn't eat, just held it. "How long have they been following you?" "Always," Ethan whispered. "They never stopped. I just got better at hiding." "Why did you come here? Why me?" Ethan looked up at her, those old eyes in a young face. "Because you're the only one who said no to them, the only one who walked away." Before Beth could respond, Ethan was gone, running, vanishing into the maze of alleys. Beth stood there alone. The container of food sat unopened on the ground. She looked toward the street. The black sedan was still there, still watching. And now she knew. The camera saw everything. The surveillance escalated. Every day, new cameras appeared. One on the corner, one near the library, one outside her apartment building. Black sedans rotated positions, different cars, different times, but always there. Beth started noticing people, too. A woman in sunglasses at the coffee shop 3 days in a row. A man reading a newspaper in the park who never turned the page. Eyes everywhere. She changed her routine, brought Ethan's food to different locations. The alley behind the hardware store, the loading dock at the old factory, the cemetery. But Ethan always found her, like he could read her mind, like he knew where she'd be. And every time he looked more scared, more desperate. "They're getting closer," he told her on Tuesday. "They know you're helping me." "Let them know," Beth said. She handed him the food. "I'm not stopping. You don't understand. They'll hurt you. I've already lost everything that mattered. What else can they take?" Ethan stared at her. Then, for the first time, he smiled. Small. Sad. "That's why they chose you." On Thursday, 2 weeks after the black sedan first appeared, everything changed. Beth was closing the diner, wiping down tables, counting the register, getting ready to meet Ethan at their new spot behind the library. The front door opened. A man walked in, tall, mid-40s, expensive suit that looked wrong in a place like Rosie's. His shoes were polished, his tie perfect. Everything about him screamed government. "We're closed," Beth said without looking up. "I know." The man's voice was calm, professional. "I'm not here for food, Miss Davis." Beth's hand stopped moving. She looked up slowly. The man smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "My name is Agent Marks. I think we need to talk." He sat down at the counter, uninvited, like he owned the place. Beth didn't move. "I have nothing to say to you." "That's unfortunate, because I have quite a bit to say to you." Marks folded his hands on the counter. You've been feeding Subject 13 every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 months. You've been helping a classified asset evade recovery. His name is Ethan. He's a child, not an asset. He's both. Marks pulled out a folder, set it on the counter between them. Ethan is part of a program, a very important program. He's been missing for 4 months. We need him back. He doesn't want to go back. That's not his decision to make. He's 10 years old. Old enough to know when he's being hurt. Marks's expression didn't change. We don't hurt our assets, Miss Davis. We train them. We give them purpose, skills, a future. You give them numbers instead of names. You put tracking devices on them like dogs. You put surgical implants in their brains like they're lab rats. For their protection, for their enhancement. From what? From having a childhood? From being human? Marks leaned forward slightly. Miss Davis, I know who you are. I know what you used to do at the NSA. I know about the offer you declined 15 years ago. Beth's jaw tightened. Then you know I don't work for you people anymore. But you could... Marks opened the folder. Inside were documents, photos. One photo made Beth's chest tighten. A boy, maybe 11 years old, dark hair, thin face, wearing a gray uniform, standing with other children in identical uniforms. The boy wore a bracelet, number 8. That's Subject 8, Mark said quietly. His voice changed. Something genuine crept in, something painful. His name was Daniel. He was my responsibility. My asset. Beth looked at Mark's face, saw something there she hadn't expected. Grief. What happened to him? Beth asked. Marks's hand touched the photo, just for a second. He died on a mission, 2 years ago. His voice was flat, empty. I gave the order, sent him in. The intelligence said it was safe. The intelligence was wrong. You got a child killed. Yes? Marks looked up at her. I failed him. I hesitated when I should have acted. I second-guessed when I should have trusted my training. Daniel paid the price. Marks closed the folder slowly. Daniel's death haunts me like a bad op in Kabul. Every night. Every decision. I see his face. Beth's hands gripped the counter. Don't you dare bring my son into this. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to help you understand. Marks stood, pulled out a white card, set it on the counter. Ethan needs someone who can protect him, someone who understands the stakes, someone with your skills and your experience. You want me to be his handler. I want you to save him, because if we can't recover him safely in the next 72 hours, Phoenix Protocol activates, and that's something neither of us wants. What's Phoenix Protocol? Marks looked at her, really looked at her, and in his eyes, Beth saw the answer before he said it. Memory wipe. Complete neural reset. Ethan will forget everything. Who he is, what he knows, everyone he's ever met. Marks paused. Including you. Beth's blood turned to ice. 72 hours, Miss Davis. After that, the boy you've been feeding won't exist anymore. He'll just be Subject 13 again, a blank slate ready for reprogramming. Marks walked toward the door. Think about it. Call me if you change your mind. He left. Beth stood there alone in the empty diner. The white card sat on the counter. Just a phone number, nothing else. She picked it up with shaking hands. 72 hours, 3 days until they erased Ethan's mind, until they erased her from his memory, until they turned him back into a tool, an asset, a number. Beth looked at the clock on the wall. Time was running out, and she had no idea what to do. Beth didn't sleep that night. She sat at her kitchen table staring at Agent Marks's card, just a phone number. 10 digits that could save Ethan or destroy everything. 72 hours, Phoenix Protocol, memory wipe. They would erase him, turn him back into Subject 13, a blank slate with no memories. Beth thought about Tommy, about his last words. You chose me. Now she had to choose again. At dawn, Beth made her decision. She wasn't calling Marks. She wasn't turning Ethan over to people who erase children's minds. She was going to find Ethan first, talk to him. Figure out what he really wanted, because nobody had ever asked him. She found him at the old warehouse on the east side of town. Thursday, 2 o'clock. The warehouse had been abandoned for years. Broken windows, rusted metal. When Beth pushed open the side door, Ethan sat in the corner on an old crate, waiting. How did you know I'd come here? Beth asked. Because you always find me. Ethan looked up, tired. Even when I don't want to be found. Beth set down the bag she'd brought. Food, water, clean clothes. We need to talk. I know. They sent marks to you. How do you know that? Because that's what they always do. First surveillance, then contact, then the offer. Ethan stood. Did he tell you about Daniel? Beth nodded. Subject 8. He said the boy died on a mission. Daniel didn't die on a mission. Ethan's voice was flat. Daniel refused a mission. 3 days later, Phoenix Protocol. They reset him. Sent him anyway. He died because he didn't remember how to be scared anymore. Beth's stomach turned. Marks lied. Marks lies to himself. Daniel died because the program doesn't let anyone say no. Beth knelt down to eye level. Is that why you ran, because you said no? Ethan nodded. They wanted me to hack a system, steal information that would hurt people. I said no, so they said Phoenix Protocol. I ran. And you came here. To me. Why me, Ethan? Ethan looked at her, and in his eyes, Beth saw guilt. Because they told me to, Ethan said quietly. Beth froze. What? I didn't run away. They sent me here. To you. It was always part of the plan. The warehouse tilted. Beth grabbed the crate. You're lying. I'm not. Ethan pulled out a small device, black, rectangular. This is a tracker. They've known where I am every day. They let me run. They let me find you, because that was the test. Test for what? For you. Ethan set the device down. They wanted to see what you'd do, if you'd help me, if you'd protect me, if you still had your moral compass. Beth felt punched. You used me. They used both of us. Tears filled Ethan's eyes. Real tears. I'm sorry, I didn't want to. But they said if I didn't do the test, they'd activate Phoenix Protocol anyway. You said you were an orphan? I lied. My mom's alive. In the program, too. They took me at 4. Told her I died. Ethan wiped his eyes roughly. General Morris knows. He's my father. He runs the program. He designed the test. Beth's mind reeled. Morris. She'd heard that name 15 years ago, the man who'd overseen the facility. Your father sent you to test me. To see if you were the person they need, someone who still believes in doing right, someone who can't be bought. Ethan's voice cracked. I hated lying to you. You were the first person who treated me like a kid, the first real friend I ever had. Beth stood. Her legs felt weak. So this was fake. You were never in danger. Ethan's face changed. Fresh tears spilled. That part's real. The 72 hours, that's real. What do you mean? Morris gave me 4 days. 4 days to complete the test and come back voluntarily. If I don't, his superiors activate protocol. Morris can't stop them. Ethan's whole body shook. We have 56 hours left. After that, I forget everything, including you, including that you were kind to me when no one else was. Beth's heart pounded. So you still need saving? Yes, but not the way you think. Ethan pulled out a USB drive. This has everything. Proof of what the program does. Children they've taken. Missions. Illegal operations. Everything. He held it out. If you publish this, the program ends. All the children go free, including me. Including my mom. Beth stared at it. Why haven't you published it yourself? Because I'm 10. Nobody listens to 10-year-olds, especially not classified assets. Ethan's hand trembled. But you're different. Beth Davis. Former NSA, Q clearance, credibility. If you leak this, people will believe you. And they'll come after me. Yes. And you? If it goes public, Phoenix Protocol becomes pointless. They can't erase what everyone knows. Ethan pressed the USB into her hand. But you have to do it in 56 hours before they reset me. Beth looked at the USB drive, so small, but it held the power to destroy the program, to free dozens of children. It also held the power to destroy her life, again. I need to think, Beth said. We don't have time. I said I need to think. Beth closed her fist around the USB. Meet me tomorrow, same time. I'll have an answer. Ethan nodded, started to leave, stopped, turned back. Beth? Yes? Everything about being hungry, being scared, thanking you. Fresh tears ran down his face. That was real. The test was fake, but my gratitude wasn't. You're the first person who saw me as Ethan instead of Subject 13. The first real friend I ever had. Then he was gone. Beth stood there alone. The USB drive burned in her hand. 56 hours until they erased Ethan's mind. 56 hours to decide if she'd risk everything again.
Beth thought about Tommy. You chose me. She opened her hand, looked at the USB drive, and for the first time in 14 years, Beth Davis felt like herself again. Beth drove home with the USB drive burning in her pocket. 56 hours. 56 hours to decide if she'd expose the program or let Ethan's mind be erased. She climbed the stairs to her apartment. Dark, empty, like it had been for 14 years. Beth sat at her kitchen table, pulled out the USB drive, stared at it. Ethan said it contained proof, evidence that would destroy the program. But something felt wrong. The way Ethan had looked at her, the guilt in his eyes, the trembling in his hands when he'd given it to her. There was more to this, something he wasn't saying. Beth pulled out an old laptop from her closet, the one from her NSA days, still encrypted, still secure. She booted it up. The screen glowed blue in the darkness. Her hands shook as she inserted the USB drive. A single file appeared, not documents, not proof, a video file. Beth's breath caught. She clicked it. The screen went black. Then an image appeared. A hospital room, white walls, beeping machines. And in that bed, a boy, 8 years old, bald from treatment, thin, pale, but smiling. Tommy. Beth's hands flew to her mouth. A sound escaped, half sob, half gasp. This wasn't proof of the program. This was something else entirely. Something impossible. The video played. Tommy looked directly at the camera. Hi, Mom. If you're watching this, I'm probably gone. I'm sorry. Beth's vision blurred. Tears streamed down her face. The doctor said I don't have much time. They asked if I wanted to record a message. I said yes, because there's something I need you to know. Tommy shifted. The movement looked painful, but he kept smiling, always smiling. You made the right choice, Mom. Staying with me instead of taking that job. I know you think about it. I know you wonder what if, but you chose right. Beth shook her head. No, baby, I chose wrong. You died because of me. But Tommy kept talking, like he could hear her thoughts across time. You didn't choose wrong. You chose me. You chose love. That's never wrong. He coughed, caught his breath. Some people spend their whole lives chasing money and power, but they miss what really matters. You didn't miss it, Mom. You were here every single day. Beth sobbed. Her whole body shook. Grief she'd buried since Obama's first term, grief from 2009, when Tommy died, when the world moved on, but she stayed frozen in that moment. I'm not scared of dying. I'm sad I won't see you anymore, but I'm not scared, because I know I was loved, really loved, by the best mom in the world. Tommy's smile widened, that gap-toothed smile Beth had memorized. So please don't blame yourself. Please don't think you failed me. You gave me 8 years of the best life a kid could have. That's enough. That's more than enough. He looked tired now, eyes heavy. I love you, Mom. I'll always love you. And wherever I'm going, I'll be okay, because you taught me how to be brave. The video ended. Black screen. Beth sat there in the darkness, crying, shaking. She replayed the video, once, twice, 3 times, each sob louder than the last, each viewing breaking her open wider. 14 years of grief pouring out all at once. Tommy had forgiven her. From beyond the grave, he'd told her the truth she'd never let herself believe. She'd chosen right. A sound at the window made Beth look up. Ethan stood there. He'd climbed the fire escape, his face pressed against the glass. Beth wiped her eyes, opened the window. Ethan climbed inside. You watched it, he said quietly. You lied to me. Beth's voice was raw. This isn't proof of the program. This is a video of my son. I know. Why? Why did you lie? Ethan sat down on the floor. He looked small, young, scared. Because that's the real test. The USB doesn't have proof. It has closure, something Morris knew you needed more than anything. Beth stared at him. I don't understand. Morris kept this video for 14 years, waiting. The CIA recorded it in the hospital. Standard procedure for classified trials, but they never gave it to you. They used it as leverage, as a weapon. And Morris stole it. Yes, he knew about you, about Tommy, about everything. He's been watching you for 15 years, waiting to see if you were the person he needed. Beth's hands clenched. So this whole thing, the hunger, the test, the USB, all of it was manipulation. The hunger was real. My fear was real. My gratitude was real. Ethan looked up at her, tears in his eyes. But yes,
The rest was manipulation. Morris designed it all, to see what you'd choose. Choose what? The video or me? Ethan stood. You have the closure you've needed for 14 years. Tommy's forgiveness, his love, proof that you chose right. But if you keep it, I go back to the program. Phoenix Protocol activates. I forget everything, including you. Beth felt like she'd been hit. And if I give it back? If you give it back to Morris, he'll free me. No Phoenix Protocol, no memory wipe. I get to keep my mind, my memories. My mom gets to know I'm alive. In exchange for what? Ethan's voice was barely a whisper. In exchange for you. You join the program, become chief ethics officer, work from the inside to fix it, save the other children, but you give up the video, you give up Tommy's last message, forever. Beth looked at the laptop screen. Still black, still empty. But she could see Tommy's face in her mind, hear his voice. You chose right, Mom. I can't, Beth whispered. I can't give it up. It's all I have left of him. I know. Ethan walked to the window. That's why this test is cruel. Morris wants to know if you'll sacrifice your own healing to save someone else, if you'll give up closure to give me freedom. And if I don't, if I keep the video, then I go back. Phoenix Protocol, 54 hours from now. Ethan climbed onto the fire escape. You have until tomorrow, 2 o'clock, the warehouse. Bring the USB if you're willing to trade, or keep it if you need to heal. Ethan, wait. But he was already gone, climbing down, disappearing into the night. Beth stood alone in her apartment. The laptop screen glowed. The USB drive sat on the table. Tommy's voice echoed in her mind. You chose right, Mom. But had she? 14 years ago, she'd chosen Tommy over her career, and Tommy died anyway. Now she had to choose again. Tommy's memory or Ethan's future, her healing or his freedom, both choices felt impossible. Both choices felt like losing. Beth looked at the clock. 54 hours. She picked up the USB drive, held it in her palm, so small, so light. But it held everything. Tommy's last words, his forgiveness, his love. Could she give that up? Could she trade her son's final gift to save a boy she barely knew? Beth thought about what Tommy had said. You chose love. That's never wrong. She closed her eyes. Tommy's smile appeared in her mind, that gap-toothed smile, and she heard his voice, not from the video, but from somewhere deeper, somewhere beyond grief. Choose again, Mom, but wiser this time. Beth opened her eyes, and for the first time since Tommy died, Beth knew exactly what she had to do. The next day, Beth stood in the warehouse, 2 o'clock. The USB drive was in her pocket. She'd made her choice, but her hands still shook. She heard it before she saw it, a deep thumping, growing louder, helicopter blades. Beth walked to the broken window. A black military helicopter descended, massive, heading for the lot beside the warehouse. It landed. Dust erupted. The blades slowed. The door opened. Ethan stepped out first. Beth's heart stopped. He walked calmly beside a man in military uniform, stars on the shoulders gleaming like in those leaked Pentagon documents, the ones showing generals' rank insignias in classified briefings. A general. He looked directly at the warehouse. He knew she was there. The blades stopped. Silence fell. Beth stood in the center of the warehouse, waiting. The side door opened. Ethan first, then the general. Mid-50s, strong features, gray at temples, tired eyes that had seen too much. Miss Davis, his voice was deep. I'm General Morris. Thank you for meeting us. Beth didn't respond. Morris looked around. Not comfortable, but private. That matters. You're Ethan's father, Beth said. Morris nodded. Yes. You put him in the program at 4 years old. I did. You turned your son into an asset. Morris's jaw tightened. I thought I was giving him a future. I was wrong. Ethan stood between them, silent. My wife died when Ethan was born. Complications. I was overseas. When I got home, she was gone. Ethan was fighting for his life. Morris looked at his son. I didn't know how to be a father. I was a soldier. When the program said they could give him the best education, training, I said yes. You gave him away. I gave him what I thought he needed, what I couldn't provide. Morris's hands clenched. I visit twice a year, supervised. He calls me General, not Dad. Ethan looked down. Because that's what you are. Morris flinched, like the words hurt. 3 months ago, Ethan asked me a question. Do you love me? I couldn't answer. I stood there, silent. "What did you say?" Beth asked. "Nothing. I said nothing." Morris looked at Beth. That's when I knew. The program had broken me. I'd become a machine, not a father. "So you designed this test?" "Yes. I needed to know if someone could still feel what I couldn't. Someone who could choose love over duty." Morris stepped closer. "You passed. You fed Ethan, protected him, refused our money, our threats. You chose him like you chose Tommy." Beth's hand went to her pocket, to the USB. "And now you want me to give up my son's last words to save yours." Morris's eyes widened. "That's not the trade I'm offering." Beth frowned. "What do you mean?" Morris pulled out a device. "This is Phoenix Protocol authorization. Requires 2 signatures, mine and my superiors. I can delay it, but I can't stop it." "Then what can you do?" "Offer you a different choice." Morris set the device down. "The USB has Tommy's video, but also a second file, encrypted, the real evidence. Everything about the program, every crime, every child." Beth stared at the USB. "Ethan said it was only the video. Ethan didn't know. Too dangerous to tell him." Morris looked at his son. "If the program suspected he knew, they'd activate protocol immediately. So the evidence has been there all along. Yes, now you have a real choice." Morris paused. "Publish the evidence. Destroy the program. Free all the children, including Ethan." Beth waited. "But you'll be arrested. Treason, espionage, prison for life." Morris's voice was flat. "Like Watergate whistleblowers faced. Like Ellsberg with Pentagon Papers. Prison for justice. That's the trade. And if I don't publish, give me the USB. I destroy the evidence. Keep Tommy's video. Join the program as chief ethics officer. Work inside to change things slowly. Ethan goes free. No Phoenix Protocol. But the other children stay trapped. Some, for now, until we reform piece by piece." Morris looked defeated. Not perfect. Not justice, but survival. Slow reform versus immediate destruction. Beth looked at Ethan. "What do you want?" Ethan's voice was small. "I want to remember you. I want my mom. I want out." "Even if others stay?" Ethan hesitated, nodded. "I'm sorry, but yes." Morris spoke again. "One more thing. If you publish, Phoenix Protocol activates automatically. Security measure. All assets destroyed before they testify. Ethan's mind gets erased anyway." Beth's blood ran cold. "So I can't save everyone?" "No." Morris looked at her. "Save Ethan and work for slow change, or destroy the program and lose Ethan forever. You can't do both. That's the impossible choice. That's not a choice. That's torture. That's reality. Like every whistleblower faces. Expose truth and lose everything, or stay silent and live with guilt." Morris picked up his device. "We have 48 hours. Phoenix Protocol activates either way. Unless you join us, give me the USB. Become part of the solution." Beth looked at the USB in her hand. Tommy's voice, Tommy's forgiveness, and buried inside the power to free dozens of children, at the cost of Ethan's mind, her freedom. "I need time to think." "We don't have time. 48 hours. Morris moved to the door. "Ethan stays with you. Decide by tomorrow. 2 o'clock. Here, bring the USB if you're joining, or publish if you're choosing justice over mercy." Morris stopped, looked back at Ethan. "I'm sorry. For everything. I hope someday you can forgive me, even if you can't call me Dad." Then he was gone. The helicopter started, lifted off, disappeared. Beth and Ethan stood alone in the warehouse. "He gave you an impossible choice," Ethan said quietly. "Just like he gave you an impossible childhood." "What are you going to do?" Beth looked at the USB, then at Ethan, then at the empty space where Morris had stood. "I don't know," she whispered. "I honestly don't know." But somewhere deep inside, beneath the fear and the grief and the anger, a plan was forming, a way to break the rules, a way to save everyone, a way to win. That night, Beth didn't sleep. But this time she wasn't paralyzed. She was planning. Ethan sat across from her at the kitchen table, silent, watching. "You have an idea," he said finally. "I can see it." Beth looked at him. "The evidence on this USB, how detailed is it?" "Everything, names, dates, locations, mission logs, enough to prosecute everyone." "Including Morris?" "Especially Morris. His signature is on everything." Beth stood, paced. "Morris said publishing triggers Phoenix Protocol, all assets erased. Security measure, yes. What if we don't publish? What if we use it as leverage?" Beth stopped. Negotiate instead of attack. Ethan's eyes widened. Blackmail Morris. Negotiate. Morris wants reform. He needs someone outside who can't be controlled. Me, not as employee. As independent overseer with the evidence. He'd never agree. You'd have power over him forever. That's why he will agree. He knows what he's done is wrong. This gives him redemption. Beth pulled out the USB, but only on my terms. The next morning, Beth called Marks. I want a meeting, today, noon, the warehouse. Morris, you and me. Have you decided? Yes, but not what you expect. She hung up. At noon, Beth and Ethan entered the warehouse. Morris and Marks were waiting. Miss Davis, Morris said, you have something to tell us? Beth held up the USB. I've reviewed everything, Tommy's video and the evidence. And? I'm not giving it to you. I'm not publishing it. I'm keeping it as insurance. Marks stepped forward. That's blackmail. That's survival. Beth looked at Morris. You want me to help reform the program? Fine. But not as your employee, as your watchdog. Explain. I keep the evidence. I stay outside the program. Independent. Full access to everything, every facility, every child. I review everything, approve or deny everything. Impossible. You'd have more power than the director. Yes, because that's what it takes to protect these children. Beth stepped closer. I get veto power over dangerous missions, authority to pull any child I believe is being harmed, and the right to shut everything down if you break our agreement. Marks looked at Morris. Sir, this is insane. Morris stared at Beth. What else? Ethan goes free, today. No Phoenix protocol, no tracking, normal child. You get supervised visitation once a month. Learn to be his father. Agreed. The other 12 children get independent psychological evaluation. Any child who wants out gets out. Full civilian reintegration. Morris hesitated. Some have nowhere to go. Then we find somewhere. Foster care, adoption, anything but this. Agreed. Marks interrupted. Sir, your superiors will never approve this. Morris turned to him. Then I resign. Effective immediately. Silence. What? Marks stared. 30 years of service. Done. Morris looked at Beth. You're right. I can't reform this from inside. I can't be Ethan's father while being a general, so I choose Ethan. Beth hadn't expected this. You'd give up your career? I already lost my wife. 10 years with my son. I won't lose anything else. Morris pulled off his rank insignia, set it down. You want an independent overseer? You'll have one, me, working for you, helping you tear down what I built. Beth's throat tightened. This was better than her plan. One more condition, she said. Agent Marks, you said you failed Daniel. Subject 8, Marks went pale. What about it? 3 children are still missing. You find them. You bring them home. That's your redemption. Marks looked at Morris. Morris nodded. She's right. Find those children. Marks was silent, then nodded. I'll find them, whatever it takes. And when you do, you're done with the program. You get out. Get help. Marks looked away. Understood. Beth took a breath. Do we have a deal? Morris extended his hand. We have a deal. Beth thought of Tommy's words. You chose right, Mom. She shook Morris's hand. Deal. 2 hours later, the helicopter returned. But this time, it brought something different. 9 children stepped out, ages 8 to 14, thin, scared, confused. Morris had kept his word. The evaluation teams had worked fast. 9 children wanted out. 9 were getting out. Beth stood with Ethan, watching them. Former assets, now just kids. One girl stepped forward. Maybe 12 years old, dark hair, thin face. She wore a bracelet. Number 7. She looked at Ethan, then ran to him, threw her arms around him. Ethan, she whispered. You did it. You got us out. Ethan hugged her back, stiff at first, like he'd forgotten how, then tighter, real. It was the first real hug Subject 7 had felt in years, like kids at a foster fair. Hoping, desperate, finally chosen. Beth watched, tears in her eyes. Other children joined, a small circle of hugs, of relief, of freedom. Morris approached. He wasn't wearing his uniform anymore, just civilian clothes. He looked smaller without the stars and rank. They'll need homes, he said quietly. Families, therapy, years of help. They'll get it. Beth looked at him. You'll make sure of it? Morris nodded. Then he turned to Ethan, knelt down to eye level. I don't expect you to forgive me. Not now, maybe not ever. But I want you to know I'm sorry for everything. and I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the father you deserved." Ethan stared at him, silent. Then slowly he nodded. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. Morris stood, walked toward the children, started talking to them, gentle, patient, like a father should, like he was learning how. Beth watched. The USB drive was still in her pocket, Tommy's voice, Tommy's forgiveness, and the evidence that would keep Morris honest, keep the program accountable. She'd found a way to win, not perfectly, not completely, but enough. Agent Marks approached. "I'm leaving tonight, starting the search for the missing 3. "Good luck," Beth said. "I don't need luck. I need redemption." Marks looked at the 9 children, at Subject 7 still holding Ethan's hand. Just like them. He walked away, got into a black sedan, drove off into the afternoon sun. Beth felt Ethan's hand slip into hers. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for not giving up on me. Thank you for reminding me who I used to be." They stood together watching the children, watching Morris try to help them, watching the beginning of something new. It wasn't perfect. 3 children were still missing. The program still existed. The fight was far from over, but today 9 children were free. Ethan had his mind. Morris had a chance at fatherhood. Beth had purpose again. Progress, not perfection. Like post-9/11 reforms that actually stuck. The ones that took years but changed things. Slow, painful, but real. Sometimes that's all you can ask for. Not fairy tales, not easy answers, just progress. Just hope. Just enough to keep fighting. Just enough. 6 months later. The diner still opens at 6. Beth still makes coffee, but now Ethan sits at the counter after school, doing homework, normal, almost. Morris picks him up at 4. No uniform anymore, jeans and a flannel shirt, learning to be a father, slowly. They go fishing on Saturdays. Ethan doesn't flinch anymore when Morris hugs him. The program didn't vanish. It restructured. Beth sits in meetings now, chief independent oversight officer, real power, real decisions. 9 children found, safe, new families, new lives. 3 children still missing. Beth keeps their photos on her desk, reminds her the work isn't finished. Marks never came back. Just a postcard 2 months ago. Still looking, don't give up. No signature needed. Today a file lands on Beth's desk. Mission proposal. Subject 22, age 12, high risk, high reward. Intelligence says it could save 100 lives, maybe more. But it might cost one. Her hand hovers over the stamp. Approved. Denied. She thinks of Tommy. She thinks of Ethan. She thinks of the 3 still missing. She thinks of Subject 22, a child with a number instead of a name. The stamp stays suspended, frozen between 2 truths. Save one, save many. There is no perfect answer. The room is quiet. Everyone waits for her decision. Beth closes her eyes, sees Tommy smile, hears his voice. "You chose right, Mom." But what is right now? What is right when every choice costs something, when every decision leaves someone behind? She opens her eyes, looks at the file, at Subject 22's photo. A girl, dark hair, 12 years old, someone's daughter. Beth's hand moves toward the stamp. The screen goes black. If you held that stamp, what would you choose? Approve the mission and risk one child to save 100, or deny it and let others suffer while keeping one safe? Where is the line between protection and paralysis, between courage and cruelty? Tell me in the comments. Because Beth is still deciding. And so am I. Some choices don't have right answers. They only have consequences. What would you do?